All right, so what did we learn? What did we learn? When the Torah was given, is it put the world into this new state of dynamic awareness. The whole world became suddenly a dynamic awareness that there's a creator and that the creator wants something from us, and that the creator is infinitely good, and this world is infinitely demanding, and they say the poor and needs this goodness, and that set the whole thing into action. Suddenly God revealed himself in this world. So on one hand, the Jewish people, when God gave the Torah, they felt how amazingly good God is and how real God is and how this world is so infinitely not good and not real. Not good and not real, but that God appeared here on Mount Sinai. God, the Creator, appeared here, showing us that, in fact, the world is infinitely, potentially better than we can possibly imagine. That God appeared here. God came here. And he didn't just come here to tell us to get out, to leave the world. God came to the world to tell us how important the world is and that the reason that we're here is to fix it up. The reason that we're here is to improve the world. But in order to do this, we have to know what good is. And good is feeling the Creator, feeling God. So the more we feel God, the more we realize how the world is supposed to be. And on the other hand, we remember how the world in fact is, so we want to come back to the world to fix it. That's called going up and coming back. Fire and water. Well, here the Rebbe is going to say fire and voices. And that's why it was on Mount Sinai that there was lightnings, fires, and thunders. Let's go. So he said, but there was something that united them both together. The essence of God united both of these movements going up to God and bringing that feeling down into the physical world, because this is where God wants to be, here in this physical world. And the way unites them both, that was the shofar. So the shofar is narrow on one side, wide on the other side, so it contains in it both of these opposites, and even more the narrowness, says the Rebbe, that indicates on the essence of God, which is incomprehensible, narrow. I can't comprehend it. Excuse me, one second. Last night I didn't feel good. I considered, at least my Yetzer Hora considered, not giving the class today, but I realized that was not the real me. But nevertheless, I didn't feel good. So here we go. So there's one from the vestige of the that I didn't feel good is this tea that I'm drinking. So
a lot of people I know have colds right now.
Yeah, well, thank God I'm not one of them. I mean, you know me, but I don't have a cold. But I did. This is the call. That's what it means on Mount Sinai, that all of the people ro'im at the kolot, that they saw the voices, they saw the thunders. They saw the thunders. How do you see thunders? How do you see voices? It says they saw what you could usually hear, and they could hear what you could usually see. And the Lubavitcher Rebbe points out, which that's not the point what he's making here, but why did God do such a thing like that? You could see what you could usually hear. What does that mean? It's like, the radar screens where you can, see the results of sounds or something. But he says, no, what you can hear, those are the spiritual worlds that you can't see. You just hear about them. And at Mount Sinai, they saw what you usually hear about, right? You read about Atzilut and these levels before the Tzimtzum and all these spiritual things that you can hear about. You can hear, understand. The word to understand is also the same as the word to hear in Hebrew. Shomea, to understand. Shema Yisrael. So what they usually you can't see, you can just hear, you can just understand. And Mount Sinai, they saw it. And on the other hand, what they saw, the physical, so they heard it. In other words, in every physical thing, they suddenly realized that there's secrets and reality in the physical world that are far above our understanding. So in the physical, they realized there's something totally mysterious that you can only hear about. And in the secrets, they realized that all these secrets, you realize that they're not secret. When God is revealed, it's all revealed. In any case, the Jewish people, it says they saw the voices and the torches, the Ve'et kol shofar, and also they heard the sound of the shofar, which that's the title, that's the subject of this essay that we began at the beginning of the week. What do you have to have a shofar there for? What's the necessity of a shofar? You have to have musical instruments. Not only that, a shofar is not a very beautiful instrument, not a very pleasant instrument to hear. Maybe a little bit on Rosh Hashanah, it's very impressive. But except for that, so the answer is that no, the shofar, says the Rebbe, excuse me. The shofar, says the Rebbe, that unites all of these opposites. Kolot, that they heard the voices, that's hamshachat, that's coming down. Kmo kol gashmi, like a physical voice. Shuinyan hamshachat, hahevel, this draws down the, you say, the wind from the heart, and an emotion, a desire from the heart, lotzi, to come out of your mouth, the dibur, and your inspiration, and then that pushes your diaphragm, whatever it is, and that pushes your lungs, and then it comes through your mouth. But all this is coming from you out. That's the voices is coming from God out, coming down to this world. Similar also a hamshachas, or drawing down this light of God, from what was concealed, elagiloi, to be revealed. This is also called a voice. And Mount Sinai, they heard the voice, they saw the voices. Kolot, the voices, Lashon Rabim, plural, like the rabbis say, Zochel Torah, a person that merits the Torah. If a person learns, it says a person, let me make this bigger a little bit here. Oh. It says that if you make the bride and the groom happy, especially this is the bride, you make them happy at a wedding, so you merit to 5 voices. The Torah was given, it says, in 5 voices. Call chassan, call kala, call this. It says you 5 voices. The voices, like it says, you merit to the Torah, which was given in 5 voices. What is this 5 voices? The 5 times it says water in the Psalms that we say on Shabbos. What Psalm is it? 100 and, 1 minute. I'll tell you in a minute. Gave my Siddurim away. Here we go. Whenever we have guests, so sometimes they pray here, they take Siddurim home. Let's see where it is. The voices, here we go. Well, I don't know if I'll find it. Oh, 1 minute. No, it looks like I won't find it. Anyway, in Psalms, it says the voice of God is on the waters, the voice of God is on this. There's the 5 voices. Where does this come from? Give me a second. Give me 1 second. I should have looked at this up first. Should have looked at it first. There we go. Here it is. 1 minute. Okay. Anyway, it looks like I'm not going to find it. It's somewhere around Psalm 100. It's the Psalms that we say, among the Psalms that we say on Shabbos in the nighttime. I just don't have my siddur with me here, so I can tell you exactly what it is. Anyway, the 5 times it says the voice of God. 5 times it says the voice of God is on the water, and 5 times it says the 5 voices. These are the 5 times it says water, like it says hey, pamim, or. Also, it says 5 times light as well. Mayim is in the beginning of the creation. God said He put there was the upper waters and the lower waters, and He divided the waters. Same thing. He says, "Let there be light." Light. It says 5 times God made the call the light day and the nighttime. This is the 5. This is the water. This is drawing down of God's kindness. Sheyordim mimakom kavod, that comes from a high place to a low place. The Hainu Gilui Hamshachas Or Sof. In other words, at Mount Sinai, the point the Rebbe is making is that on Mount Sinai, God came down. There was a revelation, and especially in the commandments. Physical came down into physical commandments. That's coming down into the world. into inanimate objects, right? Giving charity with the coin, putting tzitzit on your the eating matzah, physical things. That's the voices they heard at Mount Sinai. But then there was also torches on Mount Sinai. It says a lapidim. It says a kol valapidim. There were also torches. That's fire. Fire is exactly the opposite. Fire, it says eish bora kamara lapidim. It says that there's fire burning like lapidim. This is in the visions of Ezekiel and of Isaiah. Karotzoi, this is going back up. Vechuka, from below to above. That's what happened on Mount Sinai. All of a sudden, everything became activated. Everything became dynamic. Suddenly, everyone realized at Mount Sinai that God really exists and God is infinitely good, infinitely more real than the world. The world is coming from God, and it's coming from God for a reason. So God came down into Mount Sinai, and the reason that God came down is that we should elevate, we should desire, we should do it on our own. God doesn't have to come down to us, so we can go up to him and bring this awareness of God into the world. That's the whole point. The world, that's the point. Call all the people, Ra'u saw, the Hisigu, eye to eye. They all saw godliness face to face here in this physical world. They could see what was usually heard. Hakal haya bifnei. This is because of the call, a shofar, and all of the thing that united, all of this whole business that was able to be simultaneously, God coming down and inspiring us to go up, is because of the shofar. The shofar, says the Rebbe, indicates God's ability to unite all opposites. The voice of the shofar, shakal a shofar, that the sound of the shofar, shu mina meitzer, this is from the narrow place, until the makor tanugim, for the source of all pleasures, the narrow place, the source, incomprehensible, the source of all the spiritual, the source of the spiritual, the source of all existence. From it is drawn down this fire and water, that's drawn down all opposites. Shehem afachim, that the water and fire, and there's the voices coming down and the fire going up, these are two opposites, etc. So you think at Mount Sinai, excuse me, what happened on Mount Sinai? That God came down and told us how to get out of the world, how to get out, how to go up to heaven. How to go up to heaven. Surprisingly, in the whole entire 5 books of Moses, heaven and hell are not mentioned at all. You figure heaven, at least, okay, you don't want to mention hell, but at least mention heaven, be positive. Say if you do good, you go to heaven. It's not mentioned. And the fact is, there is heaven. There is heaven. Judaism certainly does believe in reward and punishment, and there is heaven and hell. But when God revealed the Mount Sinai, everybody realized that heaven and hell are totally not important at all. The only thing that's really important is the creator of all being, and the creator of all being wants to be revealed here in the world. And it all depends on us. It depends on us. God put it in our hands. So in other words, God came down into the world, revealed himself. That's like the voices, that's like the water. But on the other hand, he gave us responsibility that we have to go up. That's like fire going up. We have to do the whole thing. So this has all happened on Mount Sinai. But that's what it says on Mount Sinai, that the mountain was smoking. The mountain was all a smoke. It says Ahar Hashem. The mountain was smoking. Okay, now this sort of doesn't make any sense a little bit, because you can't burn dirt. The mountain is made of dirt. So you say that maybe the trees were burning. No, it says the mountain was burning. So let's see. And also, why tell us this in the Torah, that the mountain there was smoke coming up from the mountain, smoke. And Ashan, what is smoke? Smoke comes from al yadei shenechaz or, when fire grabs onto something physical. Sheyesh bo yesod offer, and the thing that it is that it grabs onto has to be somehow or other mineral. The things that it grabs onto. If wood burns, etc., right? Wood comes from dirt. The things that are also al derech mashal, his hapchus nefesh abahamis, also transforming the animal soul sheminoga, which comes from nature, l'sitra to kedusha, to holiness. How do you transform the creation to the creator? How do you do that? This is what's called smoke. Smoke goes up. Tevas Ashan, the nature of smoke, is that it goes up. It says that Mount Sinai was smoke. The whole thing was smoke. What is smoke? The nature of smoke is that it goes up. Whenever it comes close to the fire that lights it, umachaz, I'm sorry, umachiz at the eish, and it makes the fire attach to something she'ashen yotze mimenu that goes out from it. So in other words, when fire grabs on, let's say for instance, to a piece of wood. So the fire grabs onto the piece of wood, so the piece of wood starts smoking up, and that smoke is the transformation. It's the wood becomes hot. The heat of the thing, that's what keeps the fire going and grabbing onto this. If you put water on it and the heat goes away, then the smoke goes away, and the fire doesn't have anything to hold on to. So the smoke is sort of like a connector between the fire and the thing the fire is burning. Also, the same thing as the mountain. The mountain was all smoky. What does it mean, smoke? This made all, because this mountain was smoke, it was going up. So this connected those voices that came down, and the fire, that this was the level of Rotzev Ashov, which we said before is the going up and the coming down. Flame, also, it usually, how do you say, it jumps, flame. A flame on a candle, they make these artificial flames. You ever see them in electric? There were some people lit them, Hanukkah. They had the Hanukkah candles lit in these various public places. And it was very, very surprising. I looked and I saw that the flame doesn't seem to be affected by wind at all. The wind didn't, and I came closer and I saw that it wasn't fire at all. It was just something like a piece of metal that somehow or other was affected by the electricity. And so it wavered. It went back and forth and it jumped around. So it looked really 100% genuine, like fire. 100% looked like fire. It looked like fire. Even when I saw that it was jumping around, it was so, I tested to see if it was really hot around. It wasn't hot at all. But the point I'm trying to say is that fire jumps. Fire jumps around. It moves around. So it says that's the idea of the fire. Fire also goes up and comes down. On one end, it has to be grabbed onto something. But on the other hand, the nature of fire is to go up. So it has to be grabbing on, that's coming down and going up. So that's the fire, that's Rotzev Ashov. It's going up and coming down. That's the side of holiness, like we said before. Vayara the people saw and they shook. Hine, okay. So here we have, and we have to remember who goes out of Egypt, who left Egypt. There was the Jews. The Jews got out of Egypt, right? Well, sort of. It says that there was also a group called the Erev Rav. The Erev Rav, these were Egyptians, that they were very, very inspired by what happened, and they wanted to leave also. And did they convert? Did they not convert? I don't exactly know what their status was, but in any case, they were a big problem. They were the ones that made the golden calf, and they were a big problem. Why were they such a big problem? All these people, why? Because they had a different sort of perception of God. We'll see. It says that the people saw there was this smoke coming up. And it says, Vayara am v'yanu, and the people saw and they moved. More, this people that they saw, usually when it says people, this is talking about the Erev Rav, usually, but sometimes not. And here's one example. Hine more lamaila, that what it says in the beginning of that sentence, Beresha, the Kra, in the beginning of the sentence, V'kol ha'am roim, it says all the people saw. The voices, where is it? Here we go. V'kol ha'am, all the people saw. The thunders, the voices, and the torches that all the people saw, that's talking about the Jews. Here we go. But Yaram says that what it says in the beginning of the sentence, that all the people, the Am, they saw, this is talking about the Jews. But at the end of that sentence, that it says, and the people saw, the people, Am, same thing, the people saw, and they just shook. They shook. This is talking about the Erev Rav. This is talking about you want to call them the converts that came out with the Jewish people from Egypt. Now, God didn't want Moses to take them out, but they seemed to be so serious, and in a degree they were serious, right? But nevertheless, they didn't see these voices. They weren't on the same level. They stood far away. They stood far away. Okay, now this is going to be a big, how do you say, the solution a little bit for why is it that there's Judaism, And there's all these other religions in the world, and there's even religions that they recognize that Judaism, let's say they say was true at once, that God did give the Torah to the Jews. In other words, they recognize there was such a thing. And nevertheless, they don't catch it. Again, I said the story yesterday from Yonatan Eibeshitz. If you look at the story, you'll see. How could it be that you think that there's a lot of very intelligent and very genuine, non-Jews in the world, that none of them, very rarely is it that they come to the conclusion that, it really happened, Judaism is really true, and that God really did appear to the non-Jews, and that there's 7 Noahide commandments. Okay, a little bit is the fault, if you want to call it the fault, the lacking of the Jews, because they didn't spread out these ideas of the 7 Noahide commandments, which are found in the Torah. But they are in the Torah. One reason the Rebbe spoke about it, this was in 1986, that we didn't spread out the ideas of the 7 Noahide commandments is because it was simply dangerous. If you spoke against the church, they would just kill you. The Rebbe said, no, it's not dangerous anymore. The Rebbe said, you can talk about it. But the fact is that in the Torah itself, when God gave the Torah, he didn't give it just to the Jews. But let's put it this way, he didn't give it just for the Jews. He gave it to the Jews, but it's for the whole world. So why isn't it the other nations, here they have started out with Catholicism, and then it broke off into all these subgroups. Why didn't somebody just break off into 7 Noahide commandments? Why is it only now it's happening? There's like 10,000 different types of Protestantism or something like that. Why didn't one of them at least say, hey, maybe let's look at the Torah, maybe the 7 Noahide commandments. Why? So we're going to see why. So it says that when the Torah was given, that the Jewish people, they saw God. But the Erev Rav, the mixed multitude, it says they stood far away and they just shook. They were very, impressed. They were impressed. But they stood far away. They weren't personally involved. Ubir inyan zeh, hine kolot, this thing like we just said, these voices of God, the sounds, these are drawn down of the light of God in the world. Hainu, masha orin sof, that the light of God, shura, comes and it rests in the world, but masha batal love. But that which God said, which comes down and is revealed into a proper receptacle, right? Radio waves are only perceptible by a radio. Television waves, whatever it is, are only perceptible by a television, right? You can have as many radios as you want, and they're not going to get television waves. And the same thing is a radio. If you're not turned into the right channel, you can't. So the Jewish people, they're the proper receptacle, and they're tuned into the right channel to receive pure godliness. Ubitl zeh, that's called bitl. That's called being in tune, harmonizing, negating yourself, right? A vessel negates itself to the waves or whatever that are coming into it, right? The television becomes when you watch a television, you're not watching the television. You're watching the program on the television. The television becomes surrendered to the program that's on it. This is because of why this surrender. Now we're not talking about televisions anymore. We're talking about us, the Jewish people, being surrendered to the source of life, to the reason for life, the revelation of God in Mount Sinai. The Jewish people are a vessel for that. That's totally surrendered to God. How does this translate itself into day-to-day life? Excitement. A person gets excited, mitpa'el nefesh, gets excited from the deep depths of his soul. Like a child sees his father that he hasn't seen, daddy, he sees his father he hasn't seen for a while. But you see somebody else, you don't get so excited. The Jewish people saw and felt the essence of God. Nefesh bechinas nivra ubal gavul, because the soul is a creation, and it is limited, and it gets affected by Ein Sof, which is not limited, and there's no thought which can grasp in it at whatsoever. Klal. Hari zeh bechinas kol. This is like the voice. Hamshacha me Ein Sof, coming down from Ein Sof, ubali gavul, unlimited, and gavul. Okay, so let me give you an example. A television. It used to be when the first Jews came up. I don't think the Jews, anyway, whatever it is, they came up from the Arab states, and there were televisions in Israel. There were televisions here, and they couldn't figure out how the people got inside of the television. They never saw television before. I mean, you look all around it, up on the top of them, but you don't see any waves, any cords, anything. So it must be that the people are inside. They can't figure out how it could be that a piece of glass can receive living people. There's people inside. What happened? Okay, so of course, it's a special thing, right? That it's able to translate these electric waves or whatever they are into different colors and different movements and things. But it's pretty amazing, right? It's pretty amazing. The same thing is the Jewish people are physical people. How could they possibly receive the essence of God? How could they possibly be? It says that's the Jewish people, that they have the ability, they are the vessels, the physical brain, heart is a vessel somehow or other to receive a feeling of the essence of God. That's what happened on Mount Sinai. They were surrendered, totally surrendered to God. But the mixed multitude, lo haya ba'em koach lispalazu, they didn't have the ability to be so affected. But he's born in his thinking about the greatness of God, ba'atzmo, in his essence, so to speak. In other words, the non-Jews don't have a feeling of God's essence. They have a sense that God exists. They have a sense that God is great. They have a sense that God even creates the world, but from very, very far away. Very, very far away. It's not a personal, intimate thing by them. Personal, intimate, there has to be something in the middle. They worship a thing, a person, a spirit, or something like that. That's the personal connection they have. For instance, for instance, non-Jews, they can get excited about God when they look at the sky. They look at the stars. They look how amazing it is, how amazingly great they are. That they're so great. This is only, what happened over here? This is only, no. I see, I have to go like this. What's that? Bechinas yesh, so the physical. Bechinas ein sof, from the ein sof itself, there's no end. Lo nimshach lahem yispalus kol, they're not excited at all. Maybe I can give you an example. I just thought of this example, but maybe I can't. Albert Einstein, of course, was a Jew. Albert Einstein, he said, I have to believe that there is God. God does not play dice with the world. And he saw the stars. He saw the workings of physics and mathematics. And he came to the conclusion that there must be a God that moves the world somehow or other. There has to be a God behind all these laws. There has to be a God. But the God that he believes in that's not the God of the Jews. That's not the God of the Jews. That's God. God creates. That's sort of like the God of the Hindus. Right? There is a God, there is a general power, an organizer in the world that's not personally involved in anyone. It's much too great for that. Not personally involved. If you want to, you can get in tune with the Creator. You can get in tune with the Creator, but not the Creator cares about what you do. Cares about what you do, right? So that's like a non-Jewish sort of faith in God. On the other hand, when they asked him if he's a Jew, of course I'm a Jew, right? But that he was a Jew didn't have any connection to his definition of God. But his feeling of God that he had, which is above any definition, that he said, I'm a Jew, 100%, of course I'm a Jew. Right? I'm a Jew. If he would realize somehow or other that this feeling that he has as being a Jew is connected to the physical commandments, which he didn't have, as far as I know, is he would do the commandments. Because being a Jew is totally above understanding. It makes no sense. Right? That's why the non-Jews hate us without any sense. It doesn't make any sense because it's just something that's above understanding. It's a connection to the essence, connection to the Creator that the non-Jews simply don't have. On the other hand, when the non-Jews are not stupid. A lot of times maybe we can say that they're not as stupid as some of the Jews are. Excuse me. The non-Jews see that there are Jews that genuinely, really, 100% do change their lives according to this godliness that's totally above understanding, not just the God that has a reason because the world is so great and mathematics are so great. just totally ununderstandable. The Jewish people suffer, etc., and still don't believe in God. What do you get out of it? Right? So the answer is, what do you get out of it? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense, but I'm a Jew. And so was Albert Einstein. So that feeling that he's a Jew, that's totally above understanding. Totally above understanding. And that's what the essence of a Jew is. And a non-Jew doesn't have that. A non-Jew is willing to worship God if he gets something out of it. There got to be some sort of a logic, something. Look, and therefore the Erev Rav said, Elohim asher yelchu lefanenu. When they made the golden calf, they said, let us make gods that can go in front of us. Shiru, they had to see something physical in the physical world. And now we can understand an interesting thing. This is a bit weird. It says that there are what's called demons. Demons. There are demons, and it says there's really such a thing as demons. The Gemara says in Brachas that if a person would see the eye to see the demons, we would go crazy because they're all over the place. That's what it says. If they're all over the place, so there's demons, so they should do a lot of damage. I mean, they're all over the place. It says, nevertheless, Enosim Klum, they don't do anything because they fear God. The demons fear God, really? That's what it says. Okay, the Isa, like it says in the Gemara, Yamale Machriz, that if God would announce in the heavens something bad, is that the demons would jump immediately, right? They would do it, but they don't. The demons, it says, have fear of God. If since they have the fear of God, so that they cannot transgress the word of God, they go against their nature. This is greater than people. Shehu Bal Bechira, a person has free will. Right? Shehu Bal Bechira. It seems that these demons also seem to have free will, and when they feel God, they can't go against God. They can't go against God. And we have free will, and we can feel God like they did in Mount Sinai. And they went against God, right? It says, don't worship any idols. 40 days later, they worship the golden calf. If so, why are they called mazikim? Why are they called demons? Why are they called the damaging forces? And the answer is, this is a general principle. Okay, so it says there's demons everywhere, but they don't do anything to us. Why don't they do anything? Because they fear God. If they fear God, then they're greater than me, right? I don't see God. I don't feel God. I don't fear God, right? I try to control myself because I believe in God. I try to control myself, but it's a big battle. But it seems that these the demons, they don't have to battle at all. They're like tzaddikim. They feel God all the time. They can. So why are they called demons? Why are they called why are they called damaging? Maziki means they're damaging. So it says the answer is like this. Shehu klal gadol. This is a general thing. The ikar hafer is the difference between sitra de kedusha, holiness, and klippa, and nature, and sitra achra, and things that are lower than nature. Shamalachim, that the angels, the neshamos and the souls, that they come from the side of holiness. They have what's called bittul. They have what's called total surrender, from the revelation of God Himself and His essence. Look, and therefore, bittul malachim, therefore, that the angels are surrendered to God, and we'll read about that in the Haftorah. I'll try to put it up. The Haftorah of Isaiah, where he saw these angels. The angels is so great, ad ma'od, shetipul aleim amos of a pachad, that the angels are serving God with tremendous awe and fear, asher lo yachlu l'sa'it, that they're not able to bear the revelation of God. They realize how great God is, because it comes from the infinite light of God, is by them revealed. The angels and also the Jewish souls feel God in a revealed way, therefore they're burning up. Okay, what about these demons? It says they're also negated. It says not so. The klippas and the sitra achra, forces of nature and forces of how do you say, destruction, Yinikasam, they exist. Where do they come from? Alma de Pruda. They exist from what's called God's ability to be separate. She'enam shachas or sof, that the drawing down of the infinite light of God does not rest in them at all. The bechinas ein sof, in a way that is infinite. Shahari tofes makom, it takes up a place. The karola elokad elokaya, they call God the God of gods. Al zeh ne'amar, and this it says, Malchutcha, Malchut kol alamim. On this, it says that your kingship, God, is the kingship of all worlds. And your dictatorship is on every generation. It's in Ashrei, right? It's Psalm 145. It says, your kingship, God, is the kingship of all the worlds. And your rulership, your dictatorship, is also in every generation, also all the worlds. Shakala Olamos, all the worlds receive from God's kingship. Excuse me. God's kingship. That all the other holiness of the, besides of only the angels, the souls of the Jews, they coronate God. Malchuto willfully draw upon themselves. Beratzon. Lokach, therefore, Malchuto, therefore, God is called the king. Like a melech, just like a physical king, Shenikra melech, he's called the king when the people, they accept him. Then he's the king. Which is not the case in every door over door, in every generation and generation. This is what's called the separate worlds. There does not fall in them this whole idea of God being a king, but God being a ruler, a dictator. Shu Baal Korcho, this is against their will. That's what it means. That's what it means. They bless you, Yisbrech Shimcha. They bless your name, Befi Kol Chai, in the mouth of everyone. What does this mean? It means that the Jewish people, we bless and we draw down God. Really, we willfully accept on ourselves that there is a king. We draw down godliness in God's essence. Like I just finished saying, that you ask what's his name, Einstein. Yes, I saw an interview with Trotsky. Trotsky was a murderer, a mass murderer, a genius guy, total atheist. There's no one in today's left that even comes to the ankles of Trotsky as being an anti-religious person, an anti-this. Nevertheless, he said, I'm a Jew. They asked him, you have a religion? He says, I'm a Jew. I'm an atheist Jew, but I'm a Jew. What does it mean? He surrendered himself to being a Jew. He should have said, I'm nothing. Suddenly he accepts upon himself the kingship of God as far as that one little point goes, that he's a Jew. That he's not going to explain what that means as a Jew. I don't know. I know, namely, he was anti-religion, no one like him, right? Nothing like him. And nevertheless, he said he's a Jew. He admitted that he's a Jew. And you see this all over. Very rare is it that a Jew will say he's not a Jew, right? Unless they really make a special effort, Even the Israelis that they do say I'm not Jewish, they don't really mean it. If you get them, right, you get them in a corner, they'll say, okay, I'm a Jew. Or you say, you're not a good Jew. I'm as good a Jew as you. And inside, they're accepting godliness. They're accepting God as a king. It just isn't translated into their action, speech, and thought. I know this is drawing down God himself, the kavod yisparech, in God's essence. O bracha b'hamshacha, and this is the kolot. This is what was at Mount Sinai. Haine, but the Torah that was given in these 5 voices, 5 hamshachas. So because the Jewish people are a vessel for the essence of God, to some degree they long for this revelation of God. And that's why, in a way, you can see by so many Jews that they're atheists and anti-theists and whatever you want to call it, because they don't see God and they don't feel God. And they're angry, right? They're angry. They feel something must be there and it's not there. So what do you, I'm going to be Meshuggah? I'm going to be crazy to believe in a God I don't see. But deep down inside, they want to see. They want to have this real revelation somehow or other that was to the Jews on Mount Sinai. And it was the same thing the Jews on Mount Sinai. When they saw God, they were completely negated. After God was gone, the revelation they didn't see. And Moses was not there. He went up on Mount Sinai. They thought he wasn't coming back down, to remind them to be a little patient as they went berserk. They went berserk. But they went berserk as Jews. Right? What did they do? They went berserk. They made a golden calf and worshipped it. That's the you want to go away from God. That's what you do. You make a golden calf. It shows that they wanted to worship something. Because a Jew wants to be, and his essence is surrendered to God. Hagam, even though the Torah is put into physical things, and also we are also in physical things. We're in a physical body, but in front of God, darkness is light. In other words, a Jew realizes that God can be revealed everywhere, and in fact is revealed everywhere. That's the physical world. But call the Yosef Hashona says that every Jew knows that if you sit and learn Torah, that God learns Torah opposite you. But the Varai, like it says, the words that I put into your mouth. So every Jew, therefore, is a receptacle for godliness. It's like every Jew is a television to receive the television ways of God. The problem is that all of the broadcasting stations have been somehow or other closed down when electricity is off or something like that. So that people, they're all ready to feel godliness. Sheshar kol chai mevorachim rak shimcha levad. That all of the rest of the creation, all of the other people in the world, they bless God's name. Yisbrach shimcha befi kol chai. In the mouth of everyone else is God's name. But the Jewish people, they're connected to God Himself. That's what it says. The Jewish people are the sons of God. That's the sons of God. And in a way, that's what's going on right now in the world, right? I've said it a lot of times, but these Arabs that broke in on Hamas and they killed like 1,200 people. Why did they kill them? What was the reason? Why did they kill these people? Because they're Jews. What does it mean that they're Jews? These people didn't even know, they weren't doing anything Jewish. It was Shabbat, it was a holiday, and they were doing exactly the opposite of what you're supposed to do on Shabbat and on a holiday, according to the Torah, but they're Jews. They're Jews, and they know they're Jews, and they're happy that they're Jews. And these people couldn't stand it. They can't stand it. So it says the rest of the world is only connected to God's name, but the Jews, no matter what, are connected to God's essence. God's essence. And at Mount Sinai, it was revealed. Therefore, when God revealed Himself, the Jews were impressed in a very internal, intimate, essential way, and the non-Jews were also impressed, but in a more external way. They saw something and they were very amazed by it, and etc. But they weren't. It wasn't a thing that they gave themselves over. And that's what happened on Mount Sinai, and that's the essence of the shofar. And that's why it says that in the future, when Mashiach comes, He's going to sound a big shofar gadol. It's going to wake up all the Jews, the essence of the Jews, and their connection to God. And that's when it's going to bring them all to the Holy Temple. Mashiach is going to build a Holy Temple in Israel, and the Jews will want to do the Torah, they'll want to do the commandments. You can't do it unless there's a Holy Temple, and the Holy Temple can only be in Israel. So it's going to suddenly draw all of the same holiness that was revealed at Mount Sinai in the world will be revealed again. Mashiach will reveal that, but in a permanent way in the land of Israel and eventually in the whole entire world. Good. Let's do I'll answer the question 1 second. 1 minute. 1 minute.